My Weird School Fast Facts. Pizza, Peanut Butter, and Pickles. Written by Dan Gutman. Pictures by Jim Pelot. Chapter 4. Halftime. Well, we've reached the middle of the book, Arlo. And you know what that means? It's halftime? Yes, so it's time for some halftime entertainment. Do you know any food jokes? Sure I do. What do you call cheese that isn't yours? Nacho cheese. Get it? Nacho cheese. I get it. Why did the fisherman drop peanut butter into the ocean? To go with the jellyfish. What's green and sings? Elvis Presley. What did the baby corn say to its mom? Where is popcorn? Why should you never tell a secret on a farm? Because the potatoes have eyes and the corn has ears. Why did the teddy bear say no to dessert? Because he was stuffed. Why did the baker stop making donuts? He was tired of the whole business. What did the skeleton order for dinner? Spare ribs. Why did the tomato turn red? Because it saw the salad dressing. What should you give to a sick lemon? Lemonade. Get it? Lemonade. I get it. What starts with a T, ends with T, and is filled with tea? A teapot. Why should you stare at the carton of orange juice? Because it says concentrate on it. Why did the teddy bear eat the tightrope walker? He wanted a balanced meal. What's the difference between a grape and a chicken? They're both purple, except for the chicken. What did the gingerbread man put on his bed? A cookie sheet. What did the oil and vinegar say to the refrigerator? Close the door, we're dressing. Chapter 5. Famous Foodies. Do you know who invented the spatula? It was Bob Spatula of Oak Park, Illinois. One day he was making pancakes in his kitchen when a big glop of pancake batter. Arlo, that is a total lie. There's no such person as Bob Spatula. I know, I was just yanking your chain. But here are some real food pioneers who changed the world. George Washington Carver, 1864 to 1943. Born a slave in Missouri, George Washington Carver went on to become a famous inventor, chemist, botanist, and scientist. Carver was famous for his work with peanuts. Yes, peanuts. He found hundreds of ways to use them, and not just as food products. He turned peanuts into dyes for clothing, fuel for cars, insulation, and even soap. The guy was just nutty about peanuts. Luther Burbank, 1849 to 1926. What do you get when you cross a plum with an apricot? A plumcot. That was just one creation of botanist, horticulturist, and scientist Luther Burbank. He was called the plant magician because he seemed to do magic using plants. It was Burbank who invented the Alberta peach, the Shasta daisy, the California wildflower, and over 800 other plants, fruits, flowers, and vegetables. Burbank's most famous creation was the russet Burbank potato, the most common potato used today. McDonald's uses it for their French fries. Clarence Birdseye, 1886 to 1956. Does your family cook frozen pizza? How about frozen TV dinners? Frozen peas or corn? If the answer is yes, you owe a big thank you to Clarence Birdseye. He invented frozen food. In 1912, Birdseye took a trip to Canada, where he went ice fishing. Birdseye noticed that when a fish was caught and it was really cold outside, like minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit, the fish froze almost instantly. He also noticed that when it was later thawed out and cooked, it tasted great. Birdseye experimented with flash freezing other foods and created a company to sell them. If you go into the frozen food aisle of any supermarket, you'll see lots of stuff made by the Birdseye Company. Louis Pasteur, 1822 to 1895. Go get a carton of milk. Look at the carton. It says the milk is pasteurized. But what does that mean? It means that before the milk got to the store, it was heated to a high temperature for a short period of time. That killed harmful bacteria, so the milk would last longer and be safe for you to drink. That process was invented by a Frenchman named Louis Pasteur in 1862. It was so effective that it was named after him. Today, pasteurization is used not just for milk, but also for fruit juice, eggs, cheese, wine, and beer. Milton Hershey, 1857 to 1945. You know the name Hershey. It says it right on the bar. Milton Hershey grew up in Dairy Church, Pennsylvania, and started a caramel company there. In 1900, he decided to switch to milk chocolate, which was very expensive at the time. He tried lots of different formulas until he hit on the one that became the Hershey bar, the first chocolate bar in the United States. Milton Hershey didn't just make chocolate. He created a community for the employees who worked in his factory, with schools, parks, churches, housing, an amusement park, and a trolley system. I guess that's why Dairy Church, Pennsylvania changed its name in 1906. Today it's called Hershey, Pennsylvania. Sylvester Graham, 1794 to 1851. It would be cool to have a town named after you. But if you ask me, it would be even cooler to have a cracker named after you. Sylvester Graham was a minister in Connecticut. He believed that living a healthy lifestyle was important. That meant eating a mostly vegetarian diet with no coffee, tea, alcohol, and very little meat. He also believed that bread should be made with whole grains. So in 1820, he created a healthy snack, which of course came to be called the graham cracker. John Kellogg, 1852 to 1943, and Will Kellogg, 1860 to 1951. Like Sylvester Graham, Dr. John Kellogg was a big fan of healthy eating. At the health sanitarium he ran with his brother, patients complained that the food was boring. So the Kellogg boys started experimenting to jazz up the meals. As you read in the last chapter, they invented wheat flakes and corn flakes. Today, of course, you can buy Kellogg's Fruit Loops, Apple Jacks, Rice Krispies, Cocoa Krispies, Pringles, Pop-Tarts, and Cheez-Its. The list goes on and on. By the way, one of the patients at the Kellogg's Sanitarium was Charles William Post, who started a cereal company of his own. Post! Ernie phrase, 1913 to 1989. Ernie Fraze was at a picnic in Dayton, Ohio in 1959 when he realized he forgot to bring a can opener. He had to take cans over to his car and jam them against the bumper to poke a hole in the tops. There had to be a better way. So Ernie, who was a machine tool operator, invented the soda can pull tab. Instead of using a can opener, you just yanked off a little piece of the can to open it. That caused another problem. Those little metal pull tabs were sharp and dangerous to people and animals. So in 1977, Ernie improved the design so that the little tab pushed into the can and stayed attached to it after poking a hole in the metal. That's what we use today. Oscar Weber Bilby, 1872. One of the burning mysteries of history is, who invented the hamburger bun? Well, it is a question anyway. A few people claim to have invented the hamburger bun, but most researchers give the credit to Oscar Bilby of Tulsa, Oklahoma, in 1891. Before then, hamburgers were served on slices of toast, and they were called patty melts. But Oscar and his wife Fanny threw a 4th of July barbecue, and Fanny baked up a batch of sourdough buns. Oscar decided to put the patties on the buns instead of on toast, and the rest is hamburger history. Johnny Appleseed, 1774 to 1845. Remember when we went to the school library and Mrs. Rupee was wearing overalls and a pot on her head? That was weird. She was dressed up as Johnny Appleseed. His real name was John Chapman, and he was born in Massachusetts. Chapman lived a simple life, growing apple trees and traveling around the country, planting trees and giving apple seeds to the pioneers. He became an American folk hero. Real people or fake people? Many food companies are represented on their packages by the smiling face of a man or woman. Some of them were real people, others were fictional characters. Arlo and I went undercover to find out who was real and who was fake. Betty Crocker. Fake! In 1921, the company that made gold medal flour held a puzzle contest. 30,000 people sent in entries. Many of them also included letters with questions about baking. The company decided they needed a spokesperson who could answer customers' kitchen questions. Instead of hiring a real person, the advertising agency dreamed up a fictional woman named Betty Crocker. They chose Betty because it sounded cheerful and wholesome. Crocker was a director of the company that made gold medal flour. Sara Lee. Real. Charlie Lubin needed a good name for his cheesecakes, so he decided to name them after his 8-year-old daughter, Sara Lee. She actually appeared in some TV commercials over the years. She said her dad told her the product had to be perfect because he was naming it after me. Oscar Mayer. Real. Oscar Mayer left Germany to come to America in 1873. He worked at butcher shops in the Chicago area, where many Germans had settled. With the help of his brothers Max and Gottfried, Oscar opened his own shop. Gottfried supplied the recipes for sausages they sold. They were so popular that people lined up to purchase them every day. Why didn't they name the company Gottfried Mayer? I guess Oscar Mayer sounds better than Gottfried Mayer. Ben and Jerry. Real. Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield were 2 kids from Brooklyn, New York, who became friends in junior high school. After college, they paid $5 to take a correspondence course in ice cream making at Penn State University. In 1978, they used their savings to open up Ben and Jerry's Scoop Shop in an old, renovated Burlington, Vermont gas station. It was a big success, and now they have scoop shops everywhere, from Australia to Turkey. No trip to Vermont is complete without a visit to the Ben and Jerry's factory. Chef Boyardee. Real. Ettore Hector Boiardi was born in Italy and came to America in 1914. He was a chef who worked at many restaurants. In 1924, he opened his own place in Cleveland, and his spaghetti was so popular that customers wanted to make it at home. So Boiardi and his brothers started the Chef Boyardee Food Company. The only problem was that Americans had trouble pronouncing Boyardee, so they changed the spelling to Boyardee. Jimmy Dean. Real. Jimmy Dean was a popular country music singer and actor from Texas. He even had his own TV show. One day, Jimmy and his brother Don were at a Texas diner when Don ate a tough piece of sausage. They wished they could have some with better quality, so they started the Jimmy Dean Sausage Company in 1969. It quickly became the largest supplier of sausage in America. Duncan Hines. Real. Duncan Hines was a salesman from Kentucky who was on the road a lot. He kept a notebook in which he listed all his favorite restaurants. He even published a restaurant guide called Adventures in Good Eating. In 1935, restaurants displayed the Duncan Hines seal of approval in their windows. In the 1940s, Hines was approached with the idea of licensing his name for food products. The most popular was a line of cake mixes, and they are still very popular today. Famous Amos. Real. Wally Amos was a talent agent who represented famous singers including Simon and Garfunkel, The Temptations, Marvin Gaye, and Diana Ross. But he got tired of show business, and in 1975 he decided to do something completely different: sell cookies. Amos remembered the wonderful cookies his Aunt Delia used to bake when he was growing up in New York. He started the famous Amos Chocolate Chip Cookie Company, and it was a huge success. Wally Amos's smiling face was on every bag and box.